What's going on, everyone? My name is Steven and welcome to my YouTube channel. My intention for this video is to clarify what fat oxidation or being a fat burning machine means in comparison to actually losing stored body fat and losing weight. There's a difference. Fat oxidation or burning fat as a fuel source does not necessarily mean that at the end of the day, you are actually losing fat mass. There's a lot of hype and there's a lot of headline articles saying that this protocol, this supplement, this diet will increase your fatty acid oxidation, your fat oxidation, your fat burning capabilities. And yes, that is true. There are many things that increase fat oxidation. Fasting, fasted cardio, caffeine, cold exposure, low carb ketogenic diets, they absolutely do increase fat oxidation. For example, a low carb, high fat ketogenic diet. You are not spiking insulin, you are eating very little to no carbohydrate, and insulin inhibits what's called lipolysis, which is taking stored triacylglycerides in your adipose and making them into free fatty acids where they can enter the bloodstream and go to different tissues and be used as fuel and to enter the Krebs cycle through beta oxidation so that they can be used to create ATP, our energy, our life, basically. That is true. But we need to keep in mind what fat oxidation actually is. And I just kind of gave you a hint, but I want to define it a little further so that we know what it actually means. So when hormone-sensitive lipase gets activated, this first step in this process of fat oxidation, of fat burning, is called lipolysis, which carbohydrates do inhibit. They don't completely turn off, but they do inhibit lipolysis. Now, this is when hormone-sensitive lipase takes triacylglycerides from your adipose, from your fat tissue, and moves them across the adipose cell wall out of the fat tissue and into the bloodstream where they are now free fatty acids. So once these free fatty acids are in the bloodstream, they go to different organs and tissues, the liver, and for example, the muscle. So let's say these free fatty acids, they're in the bloodstream, they get transported, they go to your muscle. There, the free fatty acid gets bound to acetyl-CoA. And once bound to acetyl-CoA, it can now enter the mitochondria through that process is called beta oxidation, fat oxidation. The free fatty acid is now in the mitochondria. What do the mitochondria do? That's where they create energy. They are the powerhouse of the cell. That is what gives us life, okay? Our mitochondria. Once the free fatty acid is in there, it can now enter the Krebs cycle and help create ATP. So you literally just burned your fat cells, your fatty acids as a fuel source. You took fats from your adipose into the mitochondria and you just burned it as a fuel. Congratulations, you are now a fat burning machine. Now that we know what fat oxidation and burning fat actually means, now you can probably see how that does not equal fat loss. So you can do a lot of these things. And I'm not saying that low carb keto diets, fasting, fasted training, cold exposure, I'm not saying those don't work or there's no benefit to them. I've done them. I did them for years. I'll continue to do them, right? Cold exposure is my thing. Cold showers, right? I remember specifically, right? One of the health gurus, Ben Greenfield, he talks about stop eating dinner around 6, 7, 8 o'clock, fast overnight. In the morning when you wake up, do fasted aerobic exercise, do fasted cardio, right? Because that increases fatty acid oxidation. Then he says, have some caffeine before you do that, actually. So black coffee, that's what I used to do. I used to do the Ben Greenfield protocol. Fast overnight, drink some caffeine because that increases fatty acid oxidation. Then do some fasted cardio, like a fasted walk. I would go on my vibration platform and then end it with a cold shower because cold exposure increases fatty acid oxidation. I would do it all, expecting to see some awesome results and get lean and all these things. So I thought I could do that. And then I would also accompany that with a low carb ketogenic diet. Didn't necessarily get the results that I wanted to. It wasn't the magic that I thought it was because I wasn't aware that fat oxidation or fat burning did not equate to actual fat loss. So let's continue on this now. What will determine actual fat loss is being in a net negative energy balance. That means that you expended more energy than you took in. The amount of energy that you took in was lower than the amount of energy that you put out. That's what determines at the end of the day whether you are in a net fat storage or fat loss. See, we are always simultaneously burning fat, oxidizing fat, and storing fat at the same time. What determines the net gain or loss is determined by your caloric intake, your macronutrient ratios, your energy intake versus your energy expenditure, your energy balance, what I just said. So let's, read the headline article for a sec, right? As an example. A low carb diet is better because it turns you into a fat burning machine, so you lose more fat. Now, not the case necessarily if you're not in an energy, in a net, not the case necessarily if you're not in an energy deficit. So we already know that fat burning is not, and I'm looking at some notes here, so apologize if I look under the camera. Fat burning is not the same thing as fat loss. As I just said, it's only one side of the equation because we are always burning fat and storing fat at the same time. So let's look at the example of a high-fat diet. On a high-fat diet, you definitely are a fat-burning machine and you are oxidizing more fat because you are eating more fat. Your body will simply use the fuel that you give it. It's either carbs or fat. Which one are you eating? That is which one you're giving your body, that's what it's going to use as a fuel source. So if you're eating a high-fat diet, obviously you are using more fat as a fuel and oxidizing more fat. But that doesn't necessarily, but at the same time, you are also storing more fat because that's what you're consuming. Now, on a high-carb, low-fat diet, you are burning less fat. The guy or the gal on the ketogenic diet is definitely burning more fat than the guy or the gal on the high-carb, low-fat diet. But they are also storing less fat because they're eating less fat, right? Now, at the end of the day, with either of them, what determines their actual fat loss or fat storage is dependent on their energy balance. So here is a great figure, a great diagram from the book Fat Loss Forever by Layne Norton, PhD. And in this example, they're giving a low-carb, high-fat diet or a high-carb, low-fat diet with calories and protein equated. So let's say there was one person doing both diets. In both times, they were eating the same amount of calories. And our fat balance is whether we were storing fat or losing fat, okay? Now, the difference between stored and burned fat equals the net fat balance. And I'm reading the description in this figure from the book here on my computer. So in this example, a higher fat diet causes greater fat burning. Absolutely, you are oxidizing more fat, but also greater fat storage compared to a calorie equated low fat diet that produces a lower rate of fat burning, but also a lower rate of fat storage. The net fat balance between the two diets is equal when calories are equated. So you can oxidize all the fat you want. You can eliminate all the carbohydrate you want. You can do as much fasted, all these things. But at the end of the day, if you think that's what's going to give you your results without controlling for your actual energy intake or your macronutrients, then you're not going to see the results that you want. That was my exact case. And that's the reason I'm making this video, because I bought into the headline articles. I wasn't aware. I don't have a science or nutrition background, okay? And I'm going to link the book, all the resources, some studies down below, references for you to go dive into, because I don't want you to just listen to what I say and buy it, just like I did with a bunch of other people. I want you to look into it as well. I'm simply just guiding some perspective here and making clear that fat oxidation and being a fat burning machine does not mean greater fat loss. In the end, if fat loss is your goal, what will determine whether you are gaining fat or losing fat or maintaining fat is dependent on your energy balance. Are you expending more than you are intaking? It's that simple. Don't think that you have to do fasted training, intermittent fasting, low carb diets to lose fat, because that's what I thought. And I did that stuff for years. And now that I've transitioned from a ketogenic diet to a higher carb diet, the only thing that has changed is that I'm actually now controlling for my food intake. Now I'm seeing the results that I want. I'm on a cut right now. And that's why I'm talking a lot recently about fat loss and different diet templates and things like that, because it doesn't matter what diet you are on. One diet is not superior than the other for fat loss in any way. Vegan, keto, high carb, high protein, whatever. The best diet is the one that you can stick to, is the one that you can adhere to. I want to make that very clear, and I want people to know that. The best diet is the one that you can stick to and the one that you can adhere to, because in order to get results long-term and good results long-term for life, you need to be able to do things on a consistent basis. And if you don't like it, or if you feel restricted, you won't be able to do it on a consistent basis. Therefore, you won't get the long-term positive result that you're looking for. So I hope I shed some light on fat oxidation versus fat loss in this video, because I think it's very important. If you have any questions, any comments, any thoughts, leave them in a comment down below. I'd be more than happy to get back to you. If you found any value in this video and if you appreciated my style, I would appreciate if you hit that thumbs up button and you hit the subscribe button, and that way we can grow and go on this journey together. I love you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in next week's video.